Today's lesson is going to be space awareness with Coach Bree. We are going to start with the psychomotor importance of this lesson. By the end of the lesson, students will be able to perform various functions with the hula hoop, maintaining their own space and not colliding with other students throughout the entire lesson. By the end of this lesson, students will understand the difference between self and general space, directions, and levels where their body can move solely with an object. They will demonstrate knowledge of how to maintain the rhythm of a hula hoop and its various functions while maintaining a safe distance from others in the cognitive example. The effectiveness of this lesson: by the end of this lesson plan, students will be aware of their self and general space as they move about in different space awareness categories. Students will feel confident in maintaining space with an object during various activities. They will conclude with positive attitudes, return the equipment where it is found, and return to their regular classrooms. The teacher objective is to remind students to be mindful of their surroundings and help students be fully engaged throughout the entire lesson. I would like to decrease my use of ums and keep students moving throughout the lesson. Through the lesson, we will go through the instructional objectives, being students will apply their movement concepts and space awareness. Students will demonstrate a good understanding of space awareness, directions, and levels. Students will appropriately demonstrate these concepts while using a hula hoop and avoid colliding with other students. Necessary that we will go over will be the necessary equipment, which is a clipboard, a hula hoop for each student, a whistle for the teacher, and a stopwatch. Starting the lesson, students will warm up. Students will be allowed to move and be active without being fully guided, and then they will be allowed to use 1 minute of free time to use their hula hoop to let out any energy so they can be fully into the lesson. Physical fitness and activity component: their heart rate will be up while performing hula hoop activities. Stretches will be done prior to the lesson. Jumping and other locomotor skills will occur during the lesson to ensure physical fitness and activity components. Teaching physical skill and space awareness: repeat and refine skill performance correctly and allow for new skills. Teach how to use a hula hoop correctly with self and others' space awareness in mind. Regain students' attention. Allow students to return equipment to its belonged space. End with the lesson and evaluation of the day's accomplishment. Reflect, such as why space is important in skill and an aspect of where to be. The diagram: this is a general diagram. The space is going to be open so students can fill out the area in their own space to maintain their safety. To welcome all my students, introduce myself for any new students that may have been introduced to the classroom. Today is going to be day 3 of the lesson plan for space awareness using an object. In day 1 of the lesson plan for space awareness, students should have gotten a good understanding of self-space, meaning their body parts and movement of their body parts without moving their island. Day 2, students should have gotten a good understanding of general space, meaning all the space in the room they're allowed to access without bumping into one another. So moving on with day 3 of the lesson, we will reiterate what we learned in day 1 and day 2, and now add parts of space awareness and movement concepts for this lesson. By the end of this lesson, students will be able to perform various activities using an object and continuing to obey their space and general space without hitting or running into other students. Students and I will be going over safety instructions, what they need to be doing, what they do not need to be doing, what happens if someone does get hurt in the classroom, and what to do in that situation. As well as safety, know that it is a safe place to interact in the lesson and have fun with it, knowing that they're not going to be made fun of or judged. It is a safe place in and out. The equipment necessary for today's lessons plan is going to be hula hoops, one for every student. The instructor, is going to need a whistle and a stopwatch for students to perform each activity. A clipboard will also be necessary for today's lesson, so I can first take attendance of all the students that are here and present. I will also make notes throughout the entire lesson of students performing their activities, what works, what does not work, and notes for myself on how I can improve the lesson in general. The importance of space awareness is for students to relay their movement concepts, be able to perform activities around other students without running into them, being safe while doing so, and understanding direction, high and low levels, and their medium space. To get the lesson started, kids are going to get into their gym clothes, begin stretches while you take attendance. Being that this is day 3 of the lesson, students should come in and be able to space themselves up for stretches and begin their stretching without running into each other and hitting one another. While students are warming up, they should be doing arm circles, they should be doing things to open up their hips and just get warmed up so there are no injuries while performing this activity. The introduction to this activity, after children are warmed up, they will be getting their hula hoops and finding themselves their own self-space to not hit other students. So once students have found their own self-space away from other students, they will be allowed 1 minute to get out all of their energy and do whatever they want with their hula hoop, as long as they are in their own area. So those activities may include throwing their hula hoop, spinning it on their arm. They can practice hula hooping itself, whatever they would like to do for a full minute until the whistle blows. Know once the whistle blows, they are to drop their hula hoop, stand in the middle of it, and get in their ready position for the next instruction. Once I have students' attention, I will go over what we will be doing to use a hula hoop properly. Once I have all students' attention, I will have us go over the safety rules to make sure that nobody gets hurt and everybody is on top of what they're supposed to be doing throughout the whole activity. We will also be going over what not to do and to be sure that we are respecting the equipment that is given to us for today's activity. After all that, we will be ready to move forward with using our space awareness to use a hula hoop. We will begin by first showing students how to twirl the hula hoop without moving and understanding this is their self-space. So each student should have enough space to perform a whole twist without hitting other students' hula hoop. If students do collide with their hula hoops, they should now have a better understanding of how to separate themselves within their island so they can be more spread apart and not collide with other students. After we get the spin of the hula hoop down, we will have students take 1 foot forward and rock their hips until they get the motion of the hula hoop. While students are aware of other students and their hula hoop, they should then be able to perform both activities together to hula hoop. I want to reiterate to students that just because they don't get it on the first or the second time, that it is more than okay. This is why we practice, and being that it's the first time using a hula hoop, that we are not going to be perfect at it the first time, and we're all learning together. It is a safe place, and that we're just going to have fun doing the activities and keep moving. I would like students to know that the point of the lesson is not to become great hula hoopers, although that would be awesome as well, but to perform activities and be cautious of others and their own space, their own body movements, so that way when we perform other activities that are a little bit more physical, that everybody is safe in doing so. To demonstrate to my students that it is okay to look silly and not be perfect at something, but the fact that you are trying is all that is asked of you. Students will do that for about 3 minutes, and then they will be asked to stop, and we will move on to the next activity using our high and low space awareness. Students will then become aware of their high space and be asked to demonstrate any high space using their hula hoop. So they can, for instance, do it around their neck. They can use the hula hoop around their arms, anything that is above their shoulders using their high space. After a minute of that, students can go to their medium space. They can either go back to regular hula hooping or other activities that they can think of. Students' middle space, they will also be able to jump rope using the hula hoop until they are given the next information to stop. Students can then use their low space to use the hula hoop. They can either jump in, jump out, hop around, anything using their low space, they can perform an activity with their hula hoop. After a few minutes of that, students will then add the direction portion of their space awareness, left and right, while maintaining their self-space in the general space with children. They will be asked to use their left space, use their right space for direction, anything they would like, as long as it's to the right or to the left, depending on what was given for an instruction. The main purpose of today's lesson is to have fun with an object while demonstrating self-space in a general space among other students, figuring out directions when using the object, whether it be on their left side or their right side, whether in high space, medium space, or low space. Students should be aware of their surroundings as well as their own body. By the end of the lesson, students should feel comfortable using an object in their self-space and have an understanding of directions and levels within space awareness. To conclude the lesson, students will hear the whistle from myself. They will drop their hula hoop and step into the hula hoop into their ready position to wait for the next instruction. To conclude the lesson, we will get feedback from our students, see what they liked, what they didn't like, and if they have a good understanding of space awareness, directions, the levels, and the importance of all of them. After all that is done, students will be asked to put their hula hoops back in the designated area so the equipment does not get damaged, and that they also have a good understanding of how to be respectful of all equipment. After that is done, students will get a thumbs up and they will be ready to head back to their classrooms. Before letting my students go back to the classroom, I want to thank them for their efforts and hard work in the physical education activity and during their lesson. Students should have been active the entire time and made the best of the scenario.